One night, a group of friends decided to head out to some hiking trails after a long night out. By this point in the night, it was already past midnight, and the group figured that the trails would be empty and that they would be able to follow them all the way down to the cliffs by the beach overlooking the Pacific Ocean, and be able to relax and enjoy nature. After agreeing to the plan, the group caught a cab who took them down to the opening of the trails of what is known as Medina Point. Now, Medina Point is not just some random point on the map. It's actually located on the northern end of an island known as Okinawa, one of Japan's southernmost islands. Now, I'm sure that everybody knows Okinawa was once the site of one of the most bloody battles during World War II. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers and locals were killed in the fighting taking place. For context, during this time, around 100,000 civilians perished in the fighting, about 25% of the island's total population. Medina Point, though, isn't just known for what occurred during the battle, but actually what occurred at the tail end of it. As our group made the way down the trails, an ominous feeling kept overcoming them that they just couldn't shake. This night in particular, the forest seemed strangely dark, even though high in the sky above was a full moon. That was until they stepped foot on the trail, their flashlights being the only source of light present in what seemed like to be a never-ending sea of darkness. One of the group members joked that at any moment something was going to jump out in front of them, or appear behind them, trying to make light of the uneasy feelings that they all had. Luckily though, only a few minutes later, ahead on the trail, the group seen an opening with moonlight shining through on the trail ahead. Knowing that they were close, they sprinted the last few meters before emerging out of the forest and into the moonlight. They officially made it to Medina Point. Now, Medina Point is a large cliff face on the northern side of the island overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Down below the cliffs is a decent-sized beach before the water's edge. There is also large caves that open up to the beaches down below and runs deep into the cliff face. During the daytime, this location is a popular beach site for tourists and locals alike. The locals never go down to the beaches though after dark for, let's say, reasons that are about to be abundantly clear to our group. You see, at the tail end of the battle, Medina Point was the location of one of the most tragic events of the war. With our troops pushing fast from the south and, at this point, already having solid foothold on the island, Japanese defenders and locals slowly were getting pushed north. With nowhere else to go, the remaining defenders that the island had, and sadly too, a whole lot of civilians, reached the cliff faces of Medina Point. And they did the only thing that they thought they could. By the time Allied troops reached the cliff faces of Medina Point, the waters and the beaches down below were full of the remains of not only Japanese soldiers, but also women and children that were being washed ashore and pulled out to sea by the waves down below. The Battle of Okinawa was officially over. That was around 80 years ago. Our group story, though, this is from recent times. Now, it's worth noting around this point that Western cultures, we think of paranormal, we think of some type of poltergeist. So an example would be the Amityville Horror House, the Stanley Hotel, the Bell Witch Caves. Japanese, though, believe in what's called the Yuri. They are ghosts of humans who actually have a specific reason for the haunting, such as revenge, or even unfinished business. Just like you if you haven't subscribed yet. These ghosts are often portrayed with long black hair, white clothing, and no feet. This unfinished business, though, is something that Medina Point has no shortage of, hence why locals refuse to visit the area after dark, still to this day. Our group, though, didn't hear the warnings. Blissfully unaware of what was about to occur, our group let the night roll on and sat on top of the cliff, talking and enjoying the moonlit skies over the open ocean down below. This was though until one of the members glanced down to the beach and noticed that somebody was down there. This though would have been impossible. In order to access the beach, that would mean that somebody would have had to first come down the same trail that they went on and passed right by them and take the auxiliary trail that they were sitting right by down the side of the cliff face to the beaches down below. If somebody were to have done this, the group would have noticed, and the beach has been empty this whole time, with not a soul in sight, and no one walked past the group in the meantime. That is until one of the members noted that there was actually another way to access the beach. This was through the caves we mentioned earlier. There is one small issue with this though. The cave, while it does open up to the beach on one end, doesn't open up to land at all on the other. Instead, it opens up to flooded chambers that are accessible only by underwater caverns far out at sea. Freaked out by this now, knowing that the only way that he got down there was by appearing out of nowhere or by emerging from the cave, they continued to watch as he went back and forth until he abruptly stopped, turned, and looked back to the top of the cliff face where a group was actively sitting. While this individual was strange for sure, there was one major issue that the group noticed once he looked up at them. The individual that they'd been watching, well, he had no face. A few days later, after trying to forget about all the events that unfolded earlier at Medina Point, one of our group members was sitting in a local coffee shop reading the local newspaper. And in it was a story about how earlier, authorities retrieved the body of a man who washed up on a beach just down below Medina Point. The official story was that this individual was a swimmer from a nearby beach town who got swept up by the powerful tide while swimming and washed out to sea, where he perished. The family, though, that initially discovered the body claimed that this individual wasn't dressed the way that a normal swimmer would be. Instead, he was wearing what appeared to be an old World War II Japanese uniform that was obviously very old, looking like it had spent a long time out at sea. A legend that came full circle and turned out to be true, just like the locals told about for the last 80 years. Thanks for watching.